Every spring, Victoria wakes up a little differently. The roads get a little busier, the coffee shops run out of scones, and out at Ogden Point, a ship arrives. This is the Nieuw Amsterdam from Holland, America, carrying about 2,100 passengers and all of the complicated feelings that come with cruise ship tourism in a small Canadian city. Ogden Point is Canada's busiest destination cruise port, not Vancouver, Victoria. The city of 90,000 people on the southern tip of Vancouver Island handles more individual ship calls than anywhere else in the country. We are currently over here at the Ogden Point breakwater. We are overlooking the cruise ship, the Nieuw Amsterdam, which is Holland America's newest vessel to enter Victoria. We are starting off the cruise ship season this year with this vessel. First one today. It'll leave again later today. We are going around and asking locals what their opinions are on the cruise ship vessels and how they feel about them. The cruise ships and the marine industry is a very big part of BC. Tourism is very big, as you can see. So we're going to be out here today asking locals what they think and what their opinion is on the cruise ships and if they like them or they don't. This is the first vessel of the 2026 season. Looking forward to seeing what they can bring to us. The Ogden Point breakwater was built in 1916, before cars were common, before the Trans-Canada Highway, before Victoria was even connected to the mainland by ferry. The city built it anticipating that when the Panama Canal opened, this would be a major shipping hub. It was meant to receive the world. What no one quite predicted was what receiving the world would actually cost. The most recent complete data for Victoria, BC says we saw over 700,000 passengers who spent $214 million, contributing $109 million to the provincial GDP and employing nearly 1,400 people, with $100 being spent per day per passenger. $100 per passenger. That sounds significant until you zoom out. Greater Victoria's total tourism economy generated $2 billion in GDP and $3.5 billion in total economic output across BC in 2023. Cruise ships, with their hundreds of thousands of visitors, contributed only about $109 million of that. Which raises a question the industry doesn't always love. Are cruise ship passengers good for the city's economy compared to other type of tourists?
Yeah, they're the best. Yeah, they're really good. But I haven't taken other cruise, but Holland America was good. The service was excellent. Took it from Vancouver though. The service was excellent. It's also good for service here and people shopping. So why should they be complaining?
I think they bring business, why not?
The massive tourism that it brings in, I don't think that Victoria needs that. I used to think that I'd rather have tourists in my backyard than a steel mill, but now I'm thinking I'd rather have a steel mill than tourists in my backyard. They contribute a lot to some pockets, but those pockets get lined more and just frequently. Whereas the mass of people that live around here, they don't benefit at all from it. I don't believe.
Oh, well, we learned just recently, I believe the Greater Victoria Harbour Authority and the City of Victoria have stated on average a cruise ship person coming into Victoria will only spend about $100. So right. That's the average, where the general one is less than that. So a cup of coffee and a magnet, what does that do for our economy here?
Yeah, they're going to buy an ice cream cone and a t-shirt and maybe take a pedicab. But that doesn't take the benefit the average citizen of Victoria.
No, and then we also learned too that most of the tourist things like the whale watching and Butchart Gardens, they actually are done through the cruise ship. So the cruise ship is the one who actually is divvying up the money. It's not going from the passenger directly to Butchart Gardens per se or Prince of Wales. So everything is done through the cruise ship anyway. So it almost seems ridiculous that when they say, oh, it's good for the economy, it's like, well, is it really though?
No, not for the average Victorian. No, no. And if you take the whale watching and Butchart Gardens, yeah, it's the Uber or Airbnb kind of model where they're the middleman. And I think the cruise ships now own or control various communities in smaller destinations where every storefront is run and operated and profited by the cruise ship
through
companies.
The cruise. Yes, interesting.
It's monopoly for some areas that they go to. Thankfully that hasn't happened here yet. But this expansion over here, whether it's the Coho or the Clipper or whatever it is, well, that's hundreds of millions of dollars that could probably be better spent in many other ways. I heard the interim CEO of the Victoria Harbour Authority, going off on, well, we wouldn't be able to afford the upkeep of the lower causeway and Fisherman's Wharf. Well, that's for the tourists mostly anyway.
Yes.
You know, locals will find beautiful places and things to do without the Victoria Harbour Authority around. I think they're overstepping their realm.
Well, my son was in the pedicab business here for many years. It was a great source of tourism income for those people. That part was great. I mean, there's a plus and a minus. And
that's the plus side.
For all the tourist, businesses, I mean, it's huge incomes. But so if there was
you see them on Government Street, Government Street's a lot more crowded when the cruise ships are in town.
I think all the tourists that come in, they bring money to all the businesses, right? So it's good for Victoria. Where else are they going to go if they don't go here? I don't know.
Vancouver or maybe bypass it. Oh, yeah.
Like where in Victoria could they dock?
No, nowhere, I don't think.
I don't know. I don't think it's a terrible thing.
Let them come in.
So for the most part, it does seem like people do quite enjoy cruise ships, actually.
Hate is a strong word, but I don't like them. I think
Don't
they're
like
an
them?
unsustainable tourism strategy for Victoria. I think it's not worth the environmental cost. And we're now putting all of our eggs into a very small basket. And eventually, we're going to feel like Skagway, Alaska. The only people who benefit from it in Victoria are the souvenir stops on Government Street and the Bush Art Gardens. I don't wish ill upon either of those entities. Absolutely want them both in Victoria and want them both to be busy, but I would love to see the city of Victoria reducing our reliance on cruise ships and investing in a more sustainable, more well-rounded, holistic tourism strategy that benefits more kinds of businesses in the city.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas of what that would maybe look like?
None
no?
whatsoever.
But just at least start somewhere, right? Start somewhere. It's not just I don't like them.
I mean, I think it starts with just rather than us putting a huge amount of money and infrastructure into, expanding the cruise ship terminal and, changing traffic patterns so that more buses can go down there to take people outside of the city. Maybe we should be thinking about strategies to promote other parts of the city. I don't know. I don't have access to how much money the city spends on tourism or how they choose to spend it, but I just feel like there's got to be got to be a way that we can try and widen that pathway. I think too about just the wildlife that's down there. I mean, I live just off Dallas Road. I see harbor seals and migratory seals and river otters and all kinds of birds that are right there, right off the breakwater. And I just think about what must that look and feel like for all of the wildlife that's down there and fish to all of a sudden have a giant rumbling floating city or 4 floating cities in there all day.
Yes.
And additionally, people fish off the breakwater all the time. People are down there. I wouldn't be eating fish that came out of there.
Yes.
I think I worked in tourism in Victoria when the cruise ships just started, when they were sort of first starting out. I used to be a carriage driver, actually. And I remember, we had a thriving tourism industry prior to the cruise ships, and I firmly believe that we can have a thriving tour industry after the cruise ships, but not if we continue to gear all of our accommodations towards that one specific industry.
Yeah, we need, I hear that. We need to branch out a little bit more and work in other areas. Cruise ships can't be the only solution for our tourism industry.
Yeah, and one part of it too, I think, is we've got to fix BC ferries because it is no longer a reliable source of, not to sideline this conversation, but it's no longer a reliable source of us commuting off the island. It is part of Highway 1.
Yes.
The federal government should be contributing to it. The federal government contributes to other ferry systems across Canada more substantially than they do to BC Ferries. BC Ferries is one of the largest ferry corporations globally in terms of the number of areas that they serve, the number of vessels that they have. And I fully understand that, listen, there's aging infrastructure that was invested in 20, 60 years ago, whatever. There's going to be hard upfront costs, but renationalize it, get it out of private hands, don't run it as a for-profit corporation because it is part of our transport network. It is the highway.
Yeah. I've sort of noticed that the federal government and the provincial government, and sometimes even the municipal government, are lacking putting it in the forefront. The marine industry in BC is a way bigger than anyone even seems to understand, even though we live on an island. And
surrounded by lots of other little islands.
It just doesn't get as much love as other industries. But I want to youthify the marine industry and add bring more youth into it because I want to make sure that the industry doesn't just die out.
Yeah, totally.
Because having worked in the private side of it, most of the guys I was working with were 60 years old.
Yeah.
And the tricks to the trade are being lost.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to continue seeing more, especially the British Columbia manufacturing side of it. Unfortunately, I found out just this year that Coastal Craft out of Seashell just went under.
Yeah.
and they've well known for years of making amazing vessels, and now they're gone. So I don't want to continue seeing our Canadian side of stuff leave, and I want to make sure that the industry thrives.
Yeah.
A lot of the revenue that the Greater Victoria Harbour Authority receives from the cruise ships actually go to maintaining and implementing anything and everything to the rest of the harbour. They help with the Ogden terminal here and everything leading into the inner harbour there. A lot of the revenue that the Greater Victoria Harbour Authority receives from the cruise ships actually goes back to all of the harbours within the area. There's a lot of stuff ranging from the inner harbour coming all the way out here to Ogden Point. I believe the Greater Victoria Harbour Authority has about 10 marinas within the area. James Bay is home to about 13,000 people. It's one of Victoria's most well-beloved neighborhoods. Heritage homes, ocean views, the Empress Hotel on one end, and on the other end, a cruise ship terminal. When a cruise ship is docked at Ogden Point, it doesn't turn off. It can't. The ship has to maintain power for air conditioning, refrigeration, lighting, entertainment. Everything a 3,000-person floating city needs to operate. In 2018, there was a survey done for the citizens of James Bay. It was found that over 50% of them believed that the cruise ships had a negative impact on their life via light pollution, via environmental pollution, from having to run their generators 24/7, and other factors like noise. For the next several months, there'll be almost one vessel arriving every day here at the Ogden Point cruise ship terminal. The Greater Victoria Harbour Authority employs almost 1,500 people who are here to help with cruise ships. It's very crucial for our industry and for BC here as a whole. It seems like Victoria is a very hard place to get anyone to want to talk to you, even if you're out here being friendly. I feel like I'm in the most touristy place. You can't get more touristy than this. No comment.
More cruise ships.
More cruise ships? More cruise ships, okay.
Negative.
Negative, okay. Do you guys have any opinions on the cruise ships, positive or negative?
Haha, lots.
Any opinions on cruise ships, positive or negative? Would love to hear it.
Why?
Oh, I'm just curious.
Oh.
I don't even know.
Nope. You guys got any opinions on the cruise ships? Positive or negative?
I don't know. They're boats.
Any opinions on the cruise ships? It's weird for a town that, opposes these things apparently. No one's really talking to me about it. No one's telling me why. Any opinions on the cruise ship, positive or negative?
No.
Nope. Okay, thank you.
No, enough to have one.
Negative.
Negative? You don't like them?
Nope, on the cruise ship I'm the seasick.
Positive.
We should go ask the seagull what he thinks.
Yeah,
You think it's great?
Yeah, we come down here to look at them.
I think they're awesome.
We like them.
You like them?
They look great.
It's a pretty mixed opinion online when you hear about it. So you will generally hear the positives and negatives as tourism. It brings quite a lot of people here to Victoria, and that's quite positive for Victoria in general, being the capital of BC.
Positive.
Positive?
Yeah.
You like them?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You don't?
No, I'm just gauging everyone's opinion, gauging what everyone on the ground's actual opinions are, because I can read on the internet all I want, but
I've lived in James Bay for 2 years,
Yep.
and I have nothing but good things to say. It's nice to see the city fill up with those folks. I mean, the economy certainly needs it, but I've felt nothing negative from their presence in James Bay. Now,
Okay.
I don't live near. I just live right up here behind the ledge.
Yeah.
But no, it's a little busy down here walking with all the tourists to combat walking. But
Yeah.
besides that, no, I've got no problems with it.
Kind of indifferent.
Indifferent
They
to
feed
it?
the local industry, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure how good it is for the wildlife.
Bad for the environment for sure. The only
think I
thing
have
I
enough.
can ever think of when I think cruise ships, I ever think of is like my retail jobs, and they're like, today it'll be 3,000 people on the cruise ships.
any opinions on the cruise
I
ships?
like 'em.
You like cruise ships? Yeah, you don't mind them? You don't think they're too bad for the environment here?
Yeah, I think they're horrible, but I still.
Yeah. Yeah. Understand the reality of the situation. Yeah, that's fair.
No, but yeah. I like the people. I like all that.
They can be fun, but they need to manage their waste.
The outfalls and the sewage treatment. So then at first they were, satisfied with just having a couple of town halls. And I was actually on a committee that was, charged with looking at public input. And I argued hard for several weeks to say, we need to do a more representative sample. And the problem was the cost. It was going to cost a lot of money. And in the end, they did that. But then they ignored the results. You know, we've got 13 different jurisdictions. Right?
Yes.
So that was an issue. And then tearing up roads, that was an issue. And then are you really going to go all the way and try to use this, human poop as biofuel, which is not a proven technology? That was an issue. And then Esquimalt had already vetoed the previous effort, and so they were reluctant to
bring it back again,
to do a turnaround on the thing. That was an issue. And then Governor of Washington State wrote a letter to our premier and was very angry with us. That was an issue. Feds came and said, we'll chip in $70 million if you get started by a certain date. And if you don't get started by a certain date, we're going to fine you, I forget what it was, like $5,000 a day.
That's incredible. Wow.
The province was also, involved. And then there were biologists saying, oh, well, poop is not a problem because there's all these bacteria and stuff that they're just going to eat all that poop, so it doesn't matter. And then there were these biochemists that were saying, well, that's true for the poop, but it's not true for all the other crap that's in sewage.
Everything else, yes,
right?
all
So
the
microplastics and the hormones. I had a printout, 8-page long, all the different chemicals that are in sewage.
They just dump everything. Yes. Oh, I'm pretty sure they're allowed to just off of shore here do that. So.
Well, we hope to see you in politics one day, Julie, but you have a curious mind.
Well, I like the idea that they probably bring some business to Victoria. Seems like the water's a bit murky at times. I don't like that.
Yes.
It bothers me. I've seen whales come into this area here where this.
Oh, really?
Is. Yes.
Inside of the breakwater?
Only once.
Oh, I've never seen that. Interesting.
Yes. 3, a mother and
her calves. Yeah.
I used to get a little bit annoyed with the congestion of people on bikes on the walkway.
Yeah.
That was becoming a bit much.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we didn't have adequate washroom facility, but now that's being fixed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I actually enjoy meeting up with different nationalities.
Of course, yes.
And chatting with people.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. I just like things to be clean, and I don't know about the actual environmental effects, and that's probably something you're considering. The other thing that I observed at the height of summer, when there are a lot of cruise ships here, is there's massive car congestion, and I've seen many vehicles, particularly taxis, if I'm honest, zipping through that walkway where so many people cross the street.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's just that they get frustrated. They're trying to get people to and from the ship. I get a little frustrated with that whole thing because I walk here daily in the summer, and I generally cross the street. But that thing with the bikes, that's a major issue that they need to solve.
Because we had heard too that the city of Victoria had actually implemented lowering that they had done and already have lowered the speed limits. Don't know the exact reasoning behind this, but they said it was going to help somehow with the amount of pollution or something going on. Wasn't too sure on it.
It's probably more that it's safety.
Safety, yeah.
Like I said, people get frustrated when there's such a lineup of vehicles, like they're coming from the cruise ships, or they're trying to get into town. Or there's generally a lot of traffic, even if there isn't.
Yeah,
if there aren't cruise ships here.
Especially with the construction too, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Too many.
Too many of them.
That's right. Too many. A couple maybe, but
it's just too many. Just too many. Fair enough.
Many.
So if they had just a little bit, you'd be okay with it.
A little bit's okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
What's your opinion on?
I'm just sort of gauging everyone's opinion. I guess I'm trying to be unbiased right now. I would love to continue seeing vessels arrive here and people coming and have our marine industry thrive as I wish it should, and I hope it does. But I do still understand the negatives, especially for the people who live here. I only just recently learned actually that they have to just idle the whole time they're here.
Okay, I've heard that too, actually, which is that's cool. Do you know why that is?
So boats like this use shore power. They just connect to our power grid. I guess the locals or the city petitioned not to do that, and then it didn't happen. So now even worse. So instead of allowing them to just plug into our power grid and then maybe pay for it that way, unfortunately they have to just idle, and it's kind of now a double negative where it's unfortunate that they can't do that. And then it also limits like the type of cruise ships or the size of cruise ships we can have too, and I think the amount of time they can stay here as well.
Interesting. I honestly, overall, I think I think it is good having like new people come through, and like, you know, it's a cool industry. I mean, I don't see them enough to see it as a negative. I mean, obviously that's tricky, but
basically from now for the next 7 months, there's about one a day coming.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
there's about 315, I believe, give or take by the end of the year.
Okay.
So for 7 months, yeah, they come in a lot.
That's interesting.
I actually have seen it for the first time in my life. I've never seen a cruise ship before, and in reality, when you see it from this close, it looks so big.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Although I always used to think that I'm not gonna go on a cruise ship because I have a little bit of motion sickness, but now it's changing my mind. I'm thinking that I'm gonna travel on this cruise ship soon.
Well, have you taken BC ferries before? Like the BC ferries to Vancouver?
I'm from Surrey actually, so that was my first experience just yesterday.
Yeah, so like that ferry, you know, you're like, that's pretty big, and then you look at that one, and you're like, that's 2 times the size of the ferry of the BC ferries, which is pretty crazy.
Which is the state in US? There is a place from which they goes to Bahamas, Florida.
Florida.
That's very really famous.
Yeah, that's where most of the
seas and
the big ones. The big ones. Yes.
They are quite popular areas, so they go to the Caribbean and they stop over there.
Yeah.
And the water is also like very kind of blue lagoon water.
It's really nice. Yes.
Yeah.
And I know they usually too, depending on the some of those lines, like the Disney line, for example, has its own island.
Yeah.
It goes to like a Disney island,
they
which is pretty cool.
Island,
yeah.
There's so many entertainment activities to do on this cruise ship, so you will not get bored.
Food,
from different cuisines,
entertainment,
right?
a casino and everything. So maybe one day we'll try.
Yeah, I don't like them.
You don't like them?
No.
No.
Yeah, too big an influx of people. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
It's an
No worries.
interesting project.
Yeah.
And all the best to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, there goes the camera. Ah.